Hello and welcome to another episode of Wealth Without Borders podcast. And today I'm very happy to have with me as my guest Kristina Koehler-Coluccia. And for those of you who don't know her, she's head of business advisory at Woodburn Accountants Advisors. And the title, Kristina, today is Why Still Be Passionate About China? And the first thing I kind of want to ask you is, how are you doing? And where in the world are you?
So I'm in Germany, where my parents have a place, and we sort of escaped out here because we've got a big house, big garden, and my 3- and 5-year-old can just run.
Right.
So it gives us a little bit of, we're sort of stuck because we can't get back in. So it's one of those situations where we're waiting. It's a waiting game at the moment, but we're fine, healthy, maybe a little bit bored.
Yeah.
We're the same routine day in, day out,
Yeah.
but otherwise all okay.
I think many people are facing that situation. So the next 8 minutes, we're going to liven them up. So the format will be 8 questions in 8 minutes. So just tell you a little bit more about Kristina. So originally, I believe, Kristina, you're Hong Kong born and European. So nice, obviously you're in Germany, nice combination. And Kristina's got over 16 years experience in helping foreign investors to sell their products and services into the Chinese market stress-free. And she's worked with over 500 international companies across industries and sectors on their market strategy, their implementation, and their growth in China. So I'm really looking forward to these answers. And Kristina continues to help companies to eliminate the complexities of corporate services and compliance in China. So why be passionate about China indeed? So what I'm going to do, Kristina, is I'll ask you each of the questions, and then I have got a little cunning timer here that I'm going to start. And so I'll let you know how much time there is before I ask each question.
Okay.
So 8 minutes to go. So the first question 1 is, who is your ideal client?
So I really had to think very deeply about who is actually my ideal client. And I came up with somebody, a leader, an entrepreneur, an investor who is looking to go into the Chinese market and has finally admitted that they need help. They've finally admitted that they've hit a roadblock and they need some guidance to sort themselves out and get past that first roadblock that they've hit.
Okay, fantastic. And then what is the problem that you solve?
So I solved numerous problems, and there was a period of time, probably about 10 years ago, where I called myself a little bit of a therapist for foreigners going into China, because they came to me with all of their problems, not just professional, but also personal.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say I help on the personal side, but I am there if you need me. But I help companies go into the Chinese market, and that can be everything from helping to implement an entity, but also just simply to transact, knowing how to transact with the Chinese market, whether it's in the service industry, trading industry, etc.
Okay, great. All right, question 3, 6 minutes, 47 seconds left. What are the typical symptoms that people experience with this problem?
I think the issue for most companies going into China is that they're so focused on their core business, or the people that are appointed to bring them into the market are focused on their core business. So it could be sales managers, sourcing managers, marketing managers. You know, what they know is their specialty and their function.
Right.
But the issue when you're going into China is that there's so much bureaucracy and administrative things that you do need to know to protect yourself, to protect your business. And people tend to leave that portion out, which then makes you hit the roadblocks and reach certain obstacles along the China journey.
Okay, great. And I think the next question, we've kind of partly covered this. 5 minutes, 55 to go. Question 4, what are the common mistakes that people make when they try to solve this problem that you've identified?
Now I'm going to be probably a little bit cheeky. Most people think they know everything already.
Okay, that's
and that was, but I'll be honest, that was also my mistake, because people have the assumption that they can do in China what they're doing back home. and they can incorporate what they're doing back home in China. It's probably the biggest mistake that you can actually make. So what I try to promote a lot with any individual that is interested in the Chinese market is just educate yourself. Knowledge is power. Knowledge brings you leverage, it gives you guidance, and there's so many different avenues where you can learn and educate, do research, not necessarily an exorbitant fee either. There's a lot of free information and free data that's available that you can utilize to properly execute what you want to do in China.
Okay, so that's great advice. And leading on to that, talking about valuable free resources out there, 4 minutes 45, what's one valuable free action that the audience listening in and watching can implement that will help them to solve that problem, Kristina?
So I developed a China roadmap, and one of the superpowers that I tell my clients that they have to acquire that is absolutely free of charge is build your network. And that's the key thing in China. It's all about building your network, knowing people, meeting people, getting introduced to people. And the first way you can do that is just simply go to your jurisdiction's Chamber of Commerce website, which is actually how Howard and I met, was through the British Chamber of Commerce.
Indeed.
And then just network yourself, you know, see the members, who are they, start introducing yourself. And I think the best thing in China, especially amongst the foreigners that are based there, we love to share our stories. We love to explain how we entered, what was our success, what were our failures. Everyone loves to do that. We love to share our war stories. So the more you network, the more you talk to people, the more you will know, free of charge, how to do things right in China.
Great. And I can personally endorse that as a network king of Shanghai. Or at least I was. So good. 3 minutes 20 to go. Question 6. What's one valuable free resource that you can direct people to that will further help with that problem?
So there are 2 resources. I had to both pretty much come hand in hand in my opinion. So I really, you know, there are always pros and cons with the chambers of commerce, but I think that is usually my first step that I tell people to do is go join a chamber of commerce, build your network. And there are free educational tools through the chambers as well that you can't underestimate. And then I think the second thing, which is part of building your network, is find a mentor or advisor in that network that you've developed that helps you guide. And hopefully it's just not one advisor or mentor, but it'll be numerous ones that kind of bring you to what you need to know in the Chinese market on all aspects of your business, your personal life, etc. So those are the 2 resources I would, and don't forget, a lot of that is free of charge. It's not necessarily where you have to pay something. Okay,
brilliant. And by the way, just going back to that valuable free action, your roadmap, I presume we'll be able to put a URL into our podcast where people can find that. Great. 2 minutes to go. Question number 7. So what concept or book or program or talk has been the most impactful in your experience?
So I'm completely stumped by this question because in reference to books, I don't read books on China because I find that the minute they're published, they're outdated. That's my take on it.
Right.
I steer clear of books. I prefer to read articles, blogs, publications. I love listening to podcasts and webinars on China and all very current information because regulations change in China. The ways of doing business might also, you know, very, very subtly change as well. That reading a book that's been published or even listening to a webinar that was created 2-3 years ago, it will all be outdated.
Right.
So I try to stay very current. I listen to a variety of channels, newspapers. So I can't pinpoint one thing that has really impacted me. It's been in a culmination of many different types of applications that I've been using.
Okay, maybe for me the concept in China certainly is agility, and you need to be keeping moving. So just 40
Absolutely.
seconds to go. We're under the hammer here. Last question, number 8. What's the one question I should have asked you that that you feel would really give great value to our audience?
So the question I came up with was, and it's particularly because of COVID-19, why am I still so passionate about China? And I say this because I've gotten a lot of feedback over the last 2 to 3 months that there is a lot of hatred about China.
Right.
And I'm Hong Kong born, so I do have a certain Chinese influence on me. I've been in Shanghai since 2003, and I just love China. It changes.
We're out of time.
Constantly. Okay. I tried.
That was it. Thank you so much, Kristina. I think
My pleasure.
very valuable. Thank you. Many thanks for checking out Wealth Without Borders podcast. I'd love you to head over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review. And if you'd be kind enough to do that, I would really appreciate it. And then if you want to know more about what I do, check out wealthwithoutborders.net.